Ian Prentice is back from Technology Metals to give us more updates. Ian, great to get you in there.
Thanks, Danielle.
So it's not been that long since we last spoke, but of course we were speaking about very key news. Back in June, you released your pre-feasibility study on the Gabanintha Vanadium project, a mere 18 months after listing. You're on your way to China. Can you catch us up, what's been going on since we last spoke?
Yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks since we last spoke. Had a really good trip through China. We've now been able to have meetings with all the major players in the Chinese vanadium industry. So across from the battery guys all the way through to the steel producers and the vanadium consumers, we've been able to now have those conversations and start to build some relationships with those industry players, which is really, really important. It gives us an understanding of what's actually happening in the vanadium industry, China being the biggest player on both sides of the market in vanadium, but also understanding where some potential opportunities might lie for partnerships in the future.
Well, indeed, there were a couple of key announcements regarding the battery industry there in China recently. Can you give us your take on the vanadium market and the opportunities there for you?
As you say, there was a really key announcement whilst we were away where one of the biggest battery manufacturers in the world, used to be called Puning, it's now called themselves VRB, and that's the group that's backed by Robert Friedland. He's actually the chairman of that group. And they're a Chinese domiciled foreign company. They actually announced a deal with Pangang, which is Pangang Vanadium and Titanium, which is the world's largest vanadium producer out of China. Announced a deal which is setting up a framework to assist in the development and deployment of the vanadium redox batteries. It's a real game changer. So a big part of the capital on a vanadium battery is the actual vanadium, because it's a large component of the battery. So these two groups are now working together on some structures to potentially lease the vanadium into the battery. The beauty of these batteries is the vanadium doesn't get destroyed over the life of the battery. So at the end of the battery's life, the owner of that vanadium can reuse it somewhere else. So they've come up with quite a novel idea of running a leasing arrangement. So really, to me, it's a game changer in the vanadium battery deployment. It dramatically reduces the upfront cost of your battery, enables I think a much quicker rollout of these batteries. So really, really important in the vanadium industry. The other big thing that's happening right now, and it's due to be implemented by law on the 1st of November, is the change in the rebar standards in China. We've talked about that before, but it was talked about at the beginning of the year, and that's slowly coming to be. And as of the 1st of November, that is law. So again, a big change in consumption of vanadium in China. So really driving the market. Right now, the short-term market is being driven by that steel dynamic. A lot of the producers we saw are having trouble getting their hands on vanadium. It's a real short supply at the moment, so really key, and that's why we're seeing currently prices that are at 10-year highs. Prices in Europe touched $19 a pound last night, so it's a really exciting times.
You've recently made a strategic acquisition, a tenement right adjacent to Gabanintha. What can you tell us about the thinking behind this?
It just gives us a bit more flexibility around our operations, a bit more optionality where we can place our infrastructure. It's a really key location next door to the area where our main pit's going to be. It adds a lot of value to the longer term life of the operation.
And how are your definitive feasibility study plans coming along and the funding for the next stage of development?
We're looking probably about a 1st of August formal kick-off for the DFS, but we're doing a lot of the groundwork at the moment and pulling together the team. The same team that did the PFS we're rolling through into the DFS. So we've given them a little bit of a break, take a breather from it was 10 weeks putting the PFS together. So we did that in a really short time frame, deliver a really high quality product in our PFS, a lot of detail in there. Give them a couple of weeks to catch their breath, and then we're straight back into the DFS. So 1st of August, we have the kick-off, and we've got a pretty tight time frame around delivering the DFS as well. So we can see a fantastic opportunity in this marketplace. The vanadium market is screaming out for new suppliers. It's a really good opportunity for us, and we're very keen on getting that DFS done very, very quickly and to a high quality, and then moving from there into a development phase.
Serious momentum as usual at Technology Metals. But you are not the only Aussie-listed company with a Gabanintha vanadium project. Of course, Australian Vanadium, your neighbours, also have a project there. They're planning to release a PFS imminently, as I was told by Vincent. What can you reveal to investors about potential relationships there and the opportunity to perhaps learn from one another's operations?
Australian Vanadium have got the ground sort of between our tenements. So our northern block sits directly to the north of their main resource area, and then their strike extends down to our southern tenement. It's the same ore body, it's exactly the same mineralisation. So yeah, I guess early days we learnt a lot. They'd been there for a while before we listed, so we had a good starting point from understanding what the geology and metallurgy was. So certainly assisted in progressing our project. Vince and I have a really good relationship. We catch up every so often for a cup of coffee and talk about life and what's happening, and see if there's some things we can do on an operational level together. Sharing drill rigs and infrastructure and things like that from an operational point of view. But yeah, I guess at the moment we're both moving along the development path and see where that gets us.
And along that development path, remind us, what are the next upcoming milestones that investors really need to keep their eyes open for?
We'll be starting drilling probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Our next phase of drilling, which will be focused on enhancing the size of our indicated resource, doing some work around the geotechnical aspects of the design pits that we've already got. So improving the pit walls on those, which will be a bit of a material change from a financial point of view once we get that extra data in place, and some more metallurgical samples. So that starts round about the 1st of August. And we've got ongoing metallurgical test work programs. So even before the delivery of the PFS, we'd started the work around the met work that we need to do for the DFS. So that's ongoing, and we'll be able to start to put some of those the results from that out into the marketplace. A big part of that is we're running a large batch of sample through to produce a material amount of final product that we can send up to potential offtake partners. So that hopefully, again, that by the end of this month, early August, we'll have some final product that we can send off to interested parties to do their own test work to assess the quality. But as we've talked about before, we at Gabanintha have got a very high purity product. So we're over 99% V2O5, which is really, really important as far as getting our position in the marketplace.
It's an exciting story, Ian, and we're grateful you took the time out to update us today. See you again soon.
Thank you, Danielle.